How can I trust my husband again? I found out on the evening before my 1-year wedding anniversary that my spouse had been having a 4-month-long emotional affair. His girlfriend reached out and was very candid with me. She had no idea I existed and was completely open about the scope and content of their relationship. My husband was the first person I ever fully trusted or loved after years of abusive, unhealthy relationships and a very difficult childhood. I was completely flabbergasted to hear about this, let alone on our 1-year wedding anniversary. I honestly thought it was a prank at first until the pictures and texts started coming. My big struggle right now is that I got deep in the weeds talking to his girlfriend, reading hours and hours of conversations. In these exchanges, he took credit for work I had done, said the house I bought was his, claimed I was abusive to him and a terrible role model to his kids, and dismissed every kind thing I had done for him during these 4 months. Example, I took care of 100% of Christmas, buying gifts for his 2 young kids, doing Santa, plus buying gifts for him and my daughter on Christmas. He didn't have a single present for anyone to put under the tree, and he told his woman he had a disappointing holiday and was alone and received no gifts. I read all of these messages and feel really personally attacked and disrespected. He took the time to delete all references to me from his Reddit history. When she got suspicious, he told her lies about me and said that I was a terrible ex. He also said things to her that he said to me. Example, I want to put a baby in you. I love you. We have the rest of our lives to spend together. That finger is missing a ring. And most devastatingly, he used the same little inside phrases with her that he did with me that used to make me feel special. I fully understand that I made the choice to ask this woman questions and read through hours of this content. I don't actually know what I was looking to accomplish. Part of me wanted to see how bad it got. Part of me wanted to try to guess whether he really felt these things. Part of me wanted to find some indicators that he was deceiving her. And I think that part of me wanted to feel this hurt as deeply as possible, so I didn't make any excuses for him. My husband and I are spending the weekend apart at the suggestion of my therapist after I shut down and became emotionally numb. We had decided to have the kids per our normal schedule, and I put on a happy face and pretended everything was fine. But when they left, I was physically incapable of crying or feeling anymore, so I sought out help. I'm here alone in my home missing my husband, but also going over all of this in my head. I looked back on texts from fights we had and pieced together how those days corresponded with how much he talked to this other woman those days. I looked at my camera roll and found days where I did things for him while he was not here, spending time video chatting with her in some parking lot. I've been searching the internet for things he posted, and I'm finding snippets of some of the things about us he erased so he could convince this woman he was single. I feel like a mess. All this ranting aside, I have to ask, how can I trust him again? What can I do to take back all of the words and moments I saw he clearly shared with someone else? How can I start to believe him again? How do I rid myself of the doubts filling my head? Example, he only wants to make this work because he doesn't have a place to go and wouldn't be able to spend time with his kids. How do I start to rebuild the former foundation of our relationship, which was trust, after it's been hit with a cannonball? I'm open to any feedback or suggestions, no matter how harsh. I've been trying to find ways I could have been more emotionally open to my husband so that he didn't feel like he had to confide in someone else. And as I'm rereading our old conversations, I'm making note of times where he tried to reach out to me and for whatever reason it didn't stick. I know what I can work on to be a better partner in the future. I just don't know if this is something we can overcome or how to decide that. I want to be able to believe anything he says going forward without doubting it. I'm having a hard time even believing he loves me right now, and I feel like I really need that. Update. Why do I even miss you? You broke my heart. But I can't help but wish your big strong arms were around me. You make me feel like a pathetic, gullible loser. You lied to me so many times about so many things. I was looking forward to every day of our future together. My face hurts from crying and I can't breathe. You took pains to lie and earn my trust. You coaxed me out of my comfort zone and made me feel real love for the first time in 37 years. I didn't deserve this. I'll miss waking up early to make you breakfast. I'll miss bruises on my hips and thighs. I'll miss waking up to you staring at me. I'll miss trying to stick my finger in your belly button and wrestling in bed. I've never felt this way about anyone. I loved you so completely. And now I'm completely devastated. I hate you. I love you. I miss you. Update: warm sweats, cold bed. It's the first morning I'm waking up alone. My alarm didn't wake me up. I'm not actually sure what did. All I know is that I woke up abruptly, in a panic, to a message from you. I set a ground rule that any messages between us can no longer be private. My best friend needs to see everything because I don't trust myself to not go running back to you. I love you so much. Even after how completely, thoroughly, and systematically you betrayed me. Every hour is a journey. I resist the urge to ask you to come home and just hold me while I weep. I bargain with myself. I believe you when you say you'd never hurt me again. I've got a sickness. There's no rationale for why I believe you. You think my hurt is caused by one occurrence. One bad choice you made that continued as an emotional affair for 4 months. You think that your betrayal is something that is an isolated incident, stemming from past trauma. You say you want to be the man I fell in love with. I know you don't read a lot. But the book The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy talks about this gun called the point of view. If you shoot someone with it, they instantly understand the feelings and thoughts of whomever shot it. I wish I could fill you full of rounds from that gun. I wish you could experience the decay in my heart, the abject loneliness and despair I feel. I was ready and eager to spend the rest of my days with you. You were my partner, my team, my best friend, my hopes and dreams. You were also a liar from day one. Milestones came and went in our relationship that I'm seeing in hindsight were overshadowed with lies and deceptions. You manipulated me into loving you just like you did with Jen. You presented yourself as emotionally stable and whole. You presented yourself as self-reflective and strong. You presented yourself as someone worthy of my love and compassion. You lied to me every day. You hid your sexual desires and shame. You hid your finances and shameful expenses. You hid that you hadn't yet filed for divorce when you paraded me in front of your ex-wife. You hid the day you notarized your paperwork. You hid the day your divorce was finalized. You hid your emotions after both miscarriages. You hid your plans with another woman. You hid your infidelity in your previous marriage and your hurtful actions towards the mother of your children. You say you can return to being the man I fell in love with. But that guy doesn't exist. The guy I thought I was with was well-adjusted, had taken time to understand his divorce, and made a choice to enter a relationship that would require honesty and transparency to gain trust. The guy I loved sold me a false narrative of who he was and what he was capable of. The guy I married was emotionally damaged and hid the extent and duration of his self-destructive behavior. The guy I loved used me to hurt his wife, now ex, and misrepresented the type of person she was. The guy I was in love with even lied about why his best friend flew halfway across the country to meet me. In actuality, he was gravely concerned by how you had cheated on your wife, separated, and 2 months later were in crazy love with someone who you proposed to before your divorce was even finalized. You have betrayed me so thoroughly that I'm at a loss for how to quantify the size of the hole in my heart. My pull towards you is like some drug. It'll never feel as good as the first time, but I want more and more and more because at this point I'd pay anything just to feel anything other than sadness and despair for 1 second longer. I miss your arms around me and I miss when your words reassured me. I am crushed. I am numb. I am the shattered remains of someone who worked for 37 years to learn to trust one person, only to be betrayed in literally the most painful way possible. You are like a slow death by 1,000 cuts. You tell me you'd do anything to earn my trust back. Tell me, Joshua, how do you even begin to fix this? Because I'm afraid this is one situation I can't micromanage my way out of. Update: this is fine. I'm fine. Everything is fine. I'm a week out from finding out about my husband's infidelity and lies throughout our whole marriage, and I only just spent my first night here without him last night. I find it so hard to not cry randomly throughout the day. I see memes I want to send him. Something dumb happens I want to share with him. The stock market did something I want to ask him about. He used to text me all day at work, and I told him it's hard to work with the constant pings on my phone. Now all I can do is sit here and miss talking to him. I update his Reddit to see if he's posted anything. I'll check to see when he was last online. How do you keep your sanity? How do you completely change your day-to-day so that there isn't such a hole where the person you love the most used to be? My eyes are puffy, my voice is hoarse, and I'm so tired I can barely stand it. Does it get any easier? Update: random sobbing, everything is a trigger. When I found out about my husband's infidelity, I wound up calling this employee assistance line I have at work. The woman I talked to saved me from having a nervous breakdown. Today, the EAP service called me back to get my first therapy appointment scheduled. I found my normally funny, gregarious demeanor on the phone was now just this mousy sad person trying really hard not to ugly cry in this person's ear. I usually use humor as a coping mechanism when life gets tough. But that's not working for me with this. I hope I can feel like myself again soon. My coworkers are all very alarmed and it's hard to not be able to be my sarcastic, witty self. I've shared my situation with a few select people who have all been very nice. But I can't tell everyone what's going on. And that's exhausting too. The damage here is so complex. Every aspect of my life is broken, changed. I can't just bounce back. I don't feel secure. I'm always on the verge of tears. I really love Reddit as an outlet. The outpouring of support and people that relate to my feelings makes me feel more normal. This isn't fair. I didn't deserve this. I keep saying both of those things. I have to keep saying those things. Hopefully soon I can wear this pain like a badge of honor. Update: my marriage is the best thing that ever happened to me. April Fools. Update: wrecking ball. Starting over at day 1. We had a post-D-Day talk where he agreed to not talk to any women from before we met. There were specific names. He made it 5 days and then showed up at one of these women's houses because he needed help finding a therapist. He was also there yesterday playing Mario Kart with her and her boyfriend. I spent all night on the phone going back and forth. He broke the first major promise he made to me that was made in an attempt to set a new baseline for trust. I have to stop doing the same thing over and over again expecting different results. He's never gonna keep his promises. He's never gonna have my best interests in mind. He's a constant source of pain for me and he knows how to draw me back in. I have to stop. I need to stop restarting the cycle of pain. I need to focus on me for real. I need to quit the obsessing and pain shopping. He's had a month since D-Day to show me what kind of man he is. He couldn't keep a promise about not seeing women he met on Tinder for 5 days. I deleted our full Facebook message history this morning. Every promise. Every I love you. Every fight. It's gone. I need to heal. And rehashing who he was pretending to be while he was being unfaithful isn't doing anything except making me miss someone that never existed. Deep breath. It doesn't matter who he spends his time with. Deep breath. He broke a promise. It's not the first time that's happened, and he's had a reason for all of them. Deep breath. Somebody that loves me wouldn't have a hard time keeping a promise to not talk to women he met on dating apps. Somebody that loves me wouldn't have done any of this. Why do I trust when he says I love you? He's lied about everything else that was important to me. It's probably fine. Everything is going to be fine. Update: compulsive lies and the damage they do. So yesterday was a milestone in my saga with my WS. Over the past week he had been spending time with a previous love interest. He had told me from the day we met that this person was just a friend and insisted they had zero history of S-time or S-timal attraction.
At some point during our relationship, before we got married, the way he portrayed this friendship made me feel like it was inappropriate. I said I wanted to meet this person so that I could assess myself what their intentions were. He indicated that she declined, which made him realize she wasn't that good of a friend. They stopped talking, or so I thought.
Fast forward through 364 days of marriage, I find out about his intense 4-month EA, and then over the course of a month I learn about the extent of his lies. OnlyFans transactions starting 3 days after the wedding. Giving money to old cam girls without them exchanging goods or services, financial issues that were never talked about, and the fact that he lied about being divorced when we started dating. His divorce wasn't even filed until I met his kids and wife, and it was only finalized 2 months before we got married. Every day for the last month I've been blindsided with something new and sad. I noticed a blog post that led me to believe my husband was spending time with a woman. I reached out and found out it was this person from his past. As part of our reconciliation promise, we both agreed to have no contact with past partners or love interests. This person's name was specifically mentioned. I confront him about him breaking his first promise. I tell him how much it hurts me. His excuse seems invalid to me. She's a therapist and he needed help finding a therapist. He insists he showed up at her house and she was there with her boyfriend and that they just talked and she gave him some advice. He admits he was there twice, but that he was never with her there alone. I tell him I want her number so I can find her Facebook and validate she has a boyfriend. I tell him he needs to reach out to her and tell her that she made a promise not to see or talk to her, and by going there, he broke that promise. I ask for a screenshot of the message. The number he gives me is wrong. The next morning I confront him and he says he must have messed it up on accident. He sends me a screenshot of his conversation. He has clearly deleted messages from it. He tells me this person clearly doesn't want to be reached out to. I reach out. I'm responded to with immediate kindness and support. This woman and I spend over 2 hours on the phone and compare stories. I learn that she and I have similar trauma. I learned that the opportunity we had to meet was turned down by him, not her. I learned they had S-time and were S-timally flirtatious for 3 months before she confronted him, saying if there was no emotional connection at that point she had to bail. I learned how he texted her the whole time we were together. I also learned that she has no boyfriend. He was there alone with her. He asked if he could stay there because he had no place to go. He only told her partial truths about his infidelity and lied about me. The conversation history he deleted messages from shows him painting me as a psycho and telling her not to engage if I reach out because I'm just going to freak out on her. It also shows her saying repeatedly that he needs to come clean with me and that I should reach out to her so she can talk to me. While I did freak out on my husband on initially figuring out he was over there before I knew for sure about the S-time, I went about it the following day totally differently. I was calm. I asked if he wanted to tell me anything. I was patient. I said it's safe to tell me the truth, it will rebuild trust, which we desperately need. He swears up and down that there are no other lies. I mention the deleted messages. I hint that I know there's something else but that I'll let him tell me in his own time. He admits partially that there was no boyfriend. He says he was there alone with her. I asked if they had S-time at any point before then. He says no. I'm visibly hurt. I get frustrated and he says I thought you meant in the last 2 times I saw her. He tries to paint her as someone who is vindictive because he scorned her. I tell him we talked for hours and the proof I have is texts. I tell him she knew all of the intimate details he shared with cam girls but couldn't share with me even though I'm totally open-minded in bed and have done all of these things with him before. He only admits things when there's irrefutable truth. I ask why he didn't come clean. He blames me and said I screamed at him when I found out he went over there. He says he didn't want to get yelled at and thought things were going well because he wasn't being confronted. I ask why he didn't take the opportunity to tell me during our calm conversations or during my begging for any other truths he might have that could have helped me get some type of trust. He just says the same thing. He thought when I asked about time that he meant just those 2 nights. He forgot he deleted some messages that changed the conversation with her entirely. He didn't want me to be mad that he was there alone with her. I'm sad. I'm disappointed. But at this point, sadly, I'm not surprised. I tried with this one. I hoped so hard he'd do the right thing. It was such a great opportunity to change things and start over. It was a big lie that could have showed potential for big growth. I'm disappointed, but not surprised. Update: I left the house today. I went to therapy first. It was a good session. I talked about how I got into the situation I'm in, my motivators, the vulnerabilities that I expose, and the people I chose to open up to. I have a lot of work to do to get to a point where self-care becomes second nature. I need to learn to be patient with myself and with life. Good things take time. I need to stop being motivated by fear, anxiety, and insecurity. I need to make decisions that set me up to have the kind of life that I want. All these things seem like no-brainers. But I guess I never really spent much time focusing on myself, so I was blind to my own behaviors and patterns. I went and picked up my new glasses. Next, the pair that was waiting were the ones my husband liked. We picked them out on D-Day. They've been sitting there for weeks, but I couldn't bring myself to go get them. I'm glad I did it today. I didn't cry. I just got out of the car, walked in, tried them on, and left. I didn't even cry when I got to the car. I definitely almost had a panic attack, but instead of dwelling, I messaged my best friend. I went to Home Goods. I have never been there before. I want to get a new bed set so that I can change up the scenery here and ditch the painful memories associated with the old comforter. I was anxious. I apologized to every person I walked near. I felt huge with my cart, like I was taking up too much space. I spent about 5 minutes looking at what they had and then needed to leave. I kept seeing things my husband would love. I made it to the car. I messaged my best friend. I went to Tractor Supply. I needed pine pellets for the cat and I was going to get food for my husband's dog, but she's been eating my dog's food and has been doing fine. I decided to just go with what works. I needed the litter though, so I forced myself to go in. I remember shopping for my husband at Christmas here. I grabbed the heavy bags of pellets, 40 pounds each. I got a little dizzy. I stood for a minute and watched the ducklings and chicks. We were going to do chickens this year. I remembered my husband's best friend told me he did clover in his lawn. I walked over and grabbed a few bags. I'll try something new. I checked out, loaded up the car, and messaged my best friend. I went to the dentist next. I got there 30 minutes early, so I messaged my husband's ex-wife. She told me how much the kids missed me, especially her daughter. We made plans so I can see her. I don't want her to think this was her fault. I walk into the dentist. The last time I was there, I was pregnant, so I couldn't get x-rays. I almost cried when they asked if I could be pregnant before my x-ray. My dentist is kind and asked how I was. I gave a one-line summary of my tragedy. She looked me in the eyes and told me she was so sorry. I didn't cry. I'll take the mint fluoride, thanks. I made my appointment for November. I'll do the day off and get my cleaning and then renew my license. We both have to renew our license this year. I walked to my car and drove home. I did more today than I've done in the past 6 weeks. My life has become so anxiety-filled and every moment is driven by emotions. Either my anxiety is about my husband or my health. Something is wrong or something was wrong. Today, I just did what needed to be done. I'm picking up the house, one thing at a time. I'm caring for myself, one day at a time. I'm planning on planting my seeds any day now, but it's hard. Some things I can force myself to do. But some things just remind me too much of my husband. I love gardening, but I don't know how I'm going to set foot in that glorious structure and not think about him. One day at a time, I guess. And when it's time to take that step, you better believe I'll text my best friend.